What's happening, Mad Squad? My name's Joe, aka Mad Joe FC, and I haven't uploaded any videos in the past 2 days. And the reason why is because Iron Fist, the new Netflix series, was just released Friday. So I've been binge watching it all weekend so that I could give you guys my full review on all 13 episodes. And I really want to do a review on the Iron Fist series because it's been bashed by the critics. So I wanted to give my review and my thoughts of it. And I'm going to do this party style. What does party style mean? The first part, pretty much maybe the first 3 to 5 minutes will be non-spoilers. I'm just going to give a general review, whether it'll be something you want to watch or not if you haven't already. And then we're going to crank the party up and dive in full with spoilers. So first, I want to say, in my opinion, the critics were wrong. You were wrong, critics. This is real. It was really, 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 really good. And that's what a lot of other fans think. The critics, that's what they do. They critique things. So they're going to be like that. But all the fans pretty much loved it. Same with me. I mean, there were some things I did see where I could see where the critics were coming from, but it's still very enjoyable. I think they did a great job of introducing Danny Rand into this Netflix universe, into the MCU, showing us who Danny Rand is and Iron Fist and how he attained the Iron Fist. So I think they did a really job of introducing him. Also, Colleen Wing, I think they did a great job of introducing all of the characters. Ward and Joyce Mitchell, they were like friends of Danny Rand's when they were growing up. And we also saw the return of characters from different Netflix series. We saw Hogarth from Jessica Jones, and we saw, of course, Clara Temple. I like to think of her as like the Phil Coulson of the Netflix Marvel universe, because she's been in Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and now Iron Fist. So she's met all of them. So in a way, like, yeah, she's connected to all of them. The episodes, it was kind of not as much action as Daredevil, I'd say. It was more story driven, it was us learning about Danny Rand and how he attained the Iron Fist. There was still a lot of action, but it was also really, really story driven. But it was a good watch. It was a good watch, and there was kind of a twist on the antagonist, I'll say. The end, it wasn't lackluster to me. I thought it was a good ending. It just left me a little confused. You guys know the Hand. The Hand was in the Iron Fist series, and at the end, something dealing with the Hand left me confused as to what's going to happen next, but I'm going to leave that for spoilers. So now it's time to crank up the party and dive right into spoilers. First, I think I want to talk about one of my favorite scenes, which was the elevator fight. You guys remember when they took Joy and they were going to the elevator and he had that elevator fight, and we saw him basically like broke the bullet with his fist. I really like the elevator fight scene, and I think there were some really good fight scenes, like when he had to go through the 3 different trials, 3 different stages to save that girl. I liked those fight scenes where the 2 dudes, like, they cut their hands and they did that circle thing with blood and he couldn't escape that. It was kind of like an arena thing. I really liked that. So there were some really, really good fight scenes. And a lot of people kind of thought it was maybe too chunky or too slow, sort of. But in Daredevil, it's more fast-paced fighting. But thing is, what a lot of people don't understand is that these are two different fighting styles. Matt Murdock, he grew up, his father was a boxer, so he learned boxing. So that's how he has that boxing fighting style. But Danny Rand, when he was growing up in Kunlun, they taught him Kung Fu, so that's his fighting style. So the fighting style looked kind of different. So I think that's why it wasn't as fast-paced. I'm not trying to make up for any flaws or anything that I saw in it. I'm not trying to defend it or anything. I'm just saying what I think the reasoning is for some of these things that people complain about. And that's what I think, is that it's two different fighting styles, so it's not going to be the same. And I thought the fight scenes were really good. So at the beginning, it was cool to see Danny Rand finally arriving in New York, coming straight from Kunlun, and nobody liked him. Everybody hated him, and he has this billion-dollar company, and nobody thinks he's alive. So it was really hard for him to get back into the world. And that was like the first 3 episodes, I'd say. It was like him trying to get himself established in the world again. His 2 friends, Ward and Joyce, they had no clue who he was. They thought he was kind of like pretending to be Danny Rand, even though they thought he was dead. So Joyce was thinking a little more about this than Ward. Ward was just like, "You are not Danny Rand. I don't know who you are, but you need to leave." But Joyce was kind of like thinking about it, second guessing things, like maybe this could be Danny Rand. Like when he was sitting outside of her house and she let him in and stuff like that. Ward was like, "No, you're not Danny Rand. You need to leave." And so I remember the second episode, it was like most of the episode he was in that insane asylum, and that's when we saw him use the fist for the first time, I believe, is when he punched through the wall and got out. And I also think they did a really good job on the effects for the fist. Like it looked really real, and yeah, I like how they did that. So that was good. So then Ward and Joyce helped introduce Danny Rand back into the real world on a broadcast at the Rand Corporations, and he became pretty much like the boss. We saw him, something with the plant that was like releasing poisonous odors. He had shut that down, I think, and the thing with the drug. And we met Colleen Wing and Hogarth. He stayed at Colleen's dojo for a little while before Hogarth let him stay at her place after he was kicked out by Colleen. And it was cool to know that there was like a history kind of between Hogarth and Iron Fist, and he's the last defender that we've seen. And like, he has the most history with Hogarth, so it was cool to see that. It was kind of a confusion and a mix of who's the main antagonist, because you had the Hand with Madame Gao in it, then you had Colleen Sensei, you had him and Harold, and Colleen Sensei, the first time I saw him, when they were sitting at the table talking about Danny Rand in her dojo, I felt something off about him, and it's like I knew I could feel something, because he was like Danny Rand's like dangerous, and be careful around him and stuff. It's like I could just feel something about him. He and Claire Temple met when she was training with Colleen at her dojo, and he got stopped by. He needed to ask her something, so he and Clara Temple met. And it's like she's helped each of the defenders, because there's always been a part in each of their shows where like they'll be wounded and she'll need to patch them up. So I think that's kind of funny, and I like that it connects all of them through her. And after she was introduced, she was pretty much there for the rest of the series. We saw her in pretty much the rest of the episodes. And you remember the scene they were trying to capture Gal, and you remember when Claire put on those claws? Tell me that did not remind you of Wolverine. What I thought of was Wolverine when she put on those claws and was slashing people. They eventually got Gal and were interrogating her, and the cut that Colleen had received at the plant, and since like all the stuff was going around, it got in her, the poison got in her cut, and so she was about to die. And it was cool that he could use his iron fist to like heal people. And so we saw, I still can't remember his name, but Colleen Sensei, he had took them to the monastery type thing that they had, and I had a really off feeling about that when I first saw them there at the monastery. I was like, no, I'm just not, I have a weird vibe from this, and I had a weird vibe from her sensei the whole time. And when him and Danny went into his office and talked and stuff, and he really wanted to know a lot about the Iron Fist, and he had been studying a lot on it and things like that. And I just had a really off feeling about him. And so it turned out how I thought it would. He wanted to use the Iron Fist for his own intentions. And when we saw Danny trying to escape, he had a lot of his students attack Danny. And that other guy, which I had an off feeling about him too. I was like, who is this guy? And like, he just came out of nowhere too. So it's like, who's this guy? And what was his name? I can't remember his name either. I'm not the best with names. But it was his friend from Kunlun. And when he got in the truck, the food truck, and tied up the guy, I was like, he's not killing him, so he can't be bad, can he? I don't know. You don't have to kill somebody to be bad, but he didn't kill the guy, so I was like, well, that's good, at least. And so it turned out that it was his best friend from Kunlun, and they both trained to attain the Iron Fist, but in the end, he lost, and Danny defeated the dragon and got the Iron Fist. It sucks that we didn't get to see a flashback of him fighting the dragon, but it was already confirmed that when it happened, because you know the show is on a Netflix budget, so it's not movie quality, so we weren't going to see that. But it was cool that we at least got to see like the eyes of the dragon. It was like on the final episode when he had a flashback to him fighting the dragon, and when he was fighting Harold, and it was kind of like the same things. Like in that situation, Harold was the dragon, and Mount Gouge said you won't be able to attain full power of the Iron Fist until you defeated Harold. So it was like that was the dragon for him, you know. And Madame Gao is still locked up, so I wonder if that's the last we've seen of her. Because I know she's like one of the main people like involved in the hand. So yeah, I don't know if she's eventually going to get out somehow, or her men are going to find her or something. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. Maybe we'll see her again in the Defenders. Harold was also involved with the hand when he was diagnosed with cancer and was dying. He made a deal with the hand, and he did die, but he came back to life, and he couldn't be public. The world couldn't know about him, so he had to stay in that penthouse. And the relationship between Harold and Ward, it was just a terrible father-son relationship. It was just terrible, and they pretty much hated each other. And so we saw Ward kill Harold, so he died for the second time. And when he came back to life, I was not expecting that at all, because it was then that we still didn't know that the deal was he was able to keep coming back to life. He couldn't die. because of what the hand did for him. So I was not expecting that, and I was like, what the heck is this? So I think he turned out to be a pretty good antagonist. And so this first season pretty much had 3 antagonists. You had Madame Gao, and you had Colleen Sensei, and they were both involved in the hand, and they both had their own intentions. And this is what's confusing me about the ending that I said before we got into spoilers, was when at the end, when Danny Rand and Colleen, they went back to Kunlun, it was gone, and the hand had been there that killed some people, and Kunlun was gone. So, and we also saw her sensei, he was gone also when we thought he died. So I'm wondering, did he die and some of his men took him? Because also when they went back to the monastery was empty. So did he die and some of his men took him somewhere? Or did he not die and it was like the same thing with Harold where he could come back to life every time he died? I'm still kind of confused on that. And also if Danny Rand will just, because he's going to be in the Defender series, so now that Kunlun's not there anymore, I'm wondering if the hand went there, and now that Kunlun isn't there anymore, now the hand went back to New York. And now when Danny returns to New York, when he meets up with the rest of the Defenders, he'll be the one who knows what's going on here, and he'll be the one to bring them together because he knows how big and dangerous and how major of a threat the hand is, and so he'll be the one to bring them together to stop the hand. I was really worried that Joy and Ward were going to die by Harold, because you remember Colleen Sensei said what happens is each time a person who had the thing done to them by the hand, when they come back to life, each time, like, they become more dangerous and stuff, and they destroy the people closest to them first. Like, remember when Kyle died? That sucked so bad. Like, he was just an innocent guy, and all he wanted was some vanilla ice cream, and he freaking beat him with ice cream scooper. Like, first off, how? Oh, I hated that. That ripped Kyle. That sucked. But yeah, I'm glad that neither of them died. I was really worried that he would do something, especially to Joyce. And Ward had tried to save her. I liked that. He ended up being betrayed by Colleen Sensei. And after the whole thing happened with the battle with Colleen Sensei, then Harold tried to set up Danny, and then he pretty much became the main antagonist. Before I forget, there was also mention of Karen Page. Danny had went to her and had her write up a bulletin for him, I believe, so it was good to hear a shout out of Karen Page from Daredevil. Apologies for this having a lot of cuts in it, but it's like a lot of the time I have to stop and pause to get my thoughts together and think of something else that I want to discuss. You remember the last episode where they were having the final confrontation with Harold and they were in his building fighting? You remember when Iron Fist used his fists and punched into the ground and like everything rose up and it was all slow motion? I loved that scene so much. That was like one of my favorite scenes in the whole series. I loved that shot. And a lot of people thought it was too slow paced, but I'm one of those people. I love the story. I love learning about the characters and things like that. And before I went into watching Iron Fist, I didn't have any knowledge on Iron Fist or Colleen Wing or any of these people. But of course, I was going to get into it because it's part of the MCU now. So it was the same thing with like Daredevil. I had no clue who Daredevil was, and after watching Daredevil, I really got into Daredevil, and I bought his whole very first volume of comics from the 1960s in a collection book, and so I read that. So that's what Marvel does to me, man. It's like a character I don't know about or care about after they've appeared in the MCU is like I know about them now, and I want to know even more about them. So I'm glad I know a little bit about Danny Rand and Iron Fist now. But yeah, like I was saying about the story, a lot of people like a lot of action and things like that, especially casual people who are just watching it to watch it because it's the latest thing on Netflix or in the theaters or whatever. But I really liked the story, so I think the story was really well paced, and there was a lot of action scenes. There was a lot of good fight scenes, so I think it had its fair share of story and action scenes. Out of all the Defenders shows on Netflix, I think this is my second favorite. First is Daredevil, Iron Fist, and I think I'm tied between Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. I don't think there's one that I like better between those two, but Iron Fist is up there with Daredevil. I loved Iron Fist a lot, so the critics are probably feeling pretty stupid because me, along with most of the fans of the character, love the show. So yeah, if I had to rate it, I'd definitely give it a 9. I give it a 9 out of 10, and I definitely recommend you to watch it. I know it doesn't have it wasn't as intense and action packed as Daredevil, but this isn't Daredevil. This is Iron Fist, and when we saw him, he was just getting back from Kunlun. He was just getting back into New York, so he had to establish himself again, and he's finding out who he wants to be in New York, who he wants to be as the Iron Fist. Does he want to be like this protector and killer, or does he want to be like the light in the darkness? So yeah, it wasn't as action-packed, but it's still a really good watch. And now we just have to wait for the Defenders. I think the ending pretty much set for the Defenders, and I really like how they did this. They kind of did the same way the movies did with the Avengers. They each had their own standalone shows, and now after they've all been established into the universe, now we'll see them all come together to face a larger threat. I really like how they did that the same way with the Avengers. I think, in my personal opinion, that's like one of the best ways for a universe to be established, a superhero universe anyway, is to establish each of the main characters through their own show so that we can have their perspective of just them, and then we have them all joined together to face the larger threat. So yeah, I hope this review was good. I feel it was just me rambling a lot about different things, but I guess that's what a review is. But yeah, I was just giving my thoughts and opinions, and I was just telling things that I remembered that happened. So like, I'm not a professional or nothing, so like, yeah, I was just saying what I could think of. So let me know what you thought of Iron Fist. Do you think the critics were wrong? Do you think there were certain things that they were right about? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Let me know what you thought about it. I think it's a 9 out of 10, my second favorite Netflix Defenders show. So that pretty much wraps up this review. Let me know what you thought. If I did a good job. Like I said, I'm not a professional or anything. It's just me giving my thoughts and opinions. So yeah, feel free to let me know what you thought. Links to all my social media are down below in the description box. If you enjoyed this video, give the like button a thumbs up, tap subscribe, and chime the bell to be notified of my next upload. My name's Joe, aka Mad Joe FC. Hope you all have a marvelous day. Mad out.